Welcome to the GardeningDad.com's gardening school. My name is Paul, and I heard you want pet chickens. In today's course, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know when determining if and what and how you should have pet chickens. We're going to keep today's course at a very broad level, and I'm going to give you everything you may want to know to determine is having pet chickens right for you. So let's start off with first determining why you want pet chickens. Typically, there are three main reasons for having pet chickens. The first reason is going to be having a pet. Just some chickens that can roam around your yard, your kids can play with them, the dogs or either other animals can interact with them, and just having some nice companionship with those chickens. The number two reason that most people want chickens is for eggs, and this is becoming more and more popular today. And then finally, the third reason, and we just don't see it too much, so we're not going to get too deep into it today, is chickens for meat. Typically, your backyard gardener is not going to have chickens for meat. So those are the three main reasons why most people want to have chickens as pets. In addition, you can use their manure for the garden, and there's a lot of other benefits like keeping your yard clean from pests and insects. They're just a great animal to have on your property. Let's talk a little bit now though about, I decided I do want chickens, and it falls into one of those three categories. What are the best chickens for me? You can view my other video, Best Docile Chickens for Gardeners. You can even read any of my articles about any type of chicken that meets your needs. We have docile, best for pets, best for kids, best for eggs. The wide range, just go out to thegardeningdad.com. For this video though, there are three main chickens that I recommend. Number one, the Orpington. Number two, the Plymouth. And number three, the Rhode Island. Those three chickens are going to be best for pets. They're extremely friendly, they're docile, they're great with kids, they're great with other animals. And while there are other chickens that may have higher egg production, those three chickens right there are going to have what I call the upper echelon of egg production. And the eggs are fantastic. So again, those three chickens, once you determine why you want to have chickens, those three chickens, the Rhode Islands, the Plymouths, and the Orpingtons are my top choices that I recommend. So, how much work does it take to actually have chickens as backyard pets? That's a great question, and it really depends on how many chickens you want. If you have a small amount of chickens, right now I'm currently only having 4, it doesn't take much work. You can't just set them and forget them, but it's not going to take too much time of yours. At the same time, if you have 50 chickens, it's probably going to require a little bit more time, energy, and money from you. So let's just talk about how you can maintain them and what are some of the daily chores you have to do. So number one, and I don't think you can quite see it, but I always recommend getting a water feeder and a food feeder. If you get a water feeder and a food feeder from your local gardening store, your local, any type of nursery, you're going to be able to get it at a very reasonable price. Again, the size is going to depend on how many chickens you have. You can check out my articles for that. But very simply, you're going to want a food feeder and a water feeder. What I typically recommend with the food feeder is you can put that grain or whatever you're feeding them with once a week, once every 2 weeks, depending on the size, and that is set it and forget it. Once you do that, the chickens will take care of the rest. It is really that easy. It'll take you 2 minutes, 2 minutes once every 1 or 2 weeks. The second thing with that though, with that food, is determining what is going to be best for your chickens. I use a specific type of grain that's higher in protein. It helps with the chicken's overall health, also helps with egg production. But there are pellets, there are a lot of different type of feed for chickens. I also love mealyworms as really healthy snacks for them. Some people will feed their chickens corn. Again, mixed studies on that. Kind of like us, anything in moderation is okay though, is kind of my perspective on that. They love tomatoes. They love watermelon. Again, make sure you're doing a search though before you decide what to feed them. You don't want to harm them or even kill them. So again, feeding them, incredibly easy. Water, again, this can be easy or it can be a little bit more time intensive. I personally like to provide my chickens with fresh water every single day. It's like us, you wouldn't want to drink dirty water, and same with them. I find when they have fresh water and fresh food, they're happier and the egg production is much higher. With that being said, if you want less time though put into the chickens, you can get a larger water feeder and you fill it up once and they'll take care of the rest. Again, water might be a little bit dirtier, but it is less time intensive. And again, your chickens aren't going to be harmed from that. So those two are the biggest time constraints that you'll have when taking care of chickens. Couple of the other things you need to think about is what type of chicken coop do you want? And you can see the chicken coop behind me right now. I have a medium-sized chicken coop. It actually, sits six, or can have six in the hen house. Again, I prefer to them to have a little bit more space. So you want to determine what is the purpose of that chicken coop. Is it just where they're going to stay all the time, which is not what I recommend, or is that where they're going for their hen house to sleep and lay eggs? That, again, pretty darn simple. It's going to take some time to assemble that chicken coop if you buy it. If you make it homemade, obviously a lot cheaper, but it takes a lot more time. The next item that takes some time is to determine how do you want them to roam. Some people have free range, they have lots of property, and that's great. Let them roam, doesn't really take much time. Maybe at night it's going to take a little bit more time to get them back into their chicken coop or their hen house. At the same time, I have a very long run. So I give them almost free range, almost fully roaming, but I have a pretty long run where, again, you got fence so they're not going into the neighbors' yards. So again, they're happy, they're able to dig for worms, they're able to scratch. It's perfect for them, and I don't have to worry about them being pests to the neighbors. So that piece though, depending on the fencing and how you want to structure it, could take quite a bit of time, money, and energy to do that. So that's again the second piece. The other one is how do you want to protect them if there are pests or let's just say predators around. So we have a lot of coyotes here. We have hawks, we have raccoons, you name it, we pretty much have it. What I always like to do is I keep an eye on them. Again, my run is protected from the hawks, so I don't have to worry about that. During the daytime, I'm typically not going to run into issues with coyotes or, again, with any other type of predator. But at night, I am super, we'll call it obsessive about making sure they're protected. So I get them into the coop and into the hen house before it gets dark. I go ahead and I close up that hen house, I lock it, and I make sure that I even have some fencing around the chicken coop to help prevent or deter predators from trying to get into them. Knock on wood, I don't know where the wood is right now, but knock on wood, as you can see, Sven is behind me right now. They've been safe so far, and that is the ultimate goal with it. So those are really the major time constraints that you're going to have on a day-to-day basis. In addition, you're going to want to make sure that the chickens are healthy. So you're going to want to inspect them. You want to make sure you're giving them activities to do so that they're not attacking each other or could harm each other. Not only that, but this year has been really bad for mites. And so you want to inspect them, make sure that they don't have mites. If they start to lose a lot of feathers, that could just be natural. That typically is natural for your chickens early on, but you do want to inspect them for mites or other type of insects and parasites. So there is a lot of different things, and I can see again Sven is curious what is going on, but there are a lot of different insects or diseases that they could come down with. But again, if you get them from a great breeder, if you are taking care of them and keeping an eye on them, they're going to be fine. If you're just kind of get them from a local store and you're not paying too much attention to either medication early on or making sure that they look healthy, then you could run into some struggles with that ultimately. And those tend to be less frequent, but when they are happening, it takes a lot more of your time out. So again, that's something you want to consider. And then finally, if you're buying chickens or raising chickens for their eggs, just remember, they don't produce eggs their entire lives. They're only going to produce them for the first few years. So just keep that in mind of if you're doing it to buy them to save money, you may save some money early on, but then ultimately you're just going to be feeding them and not saving money on those eggs. Like any other hobby, what I typically find is it costs more than just buying it from the store. So again, those are just a couple of the tips, couple of the things to look out for when you're raising chickens. And then again, finally, like any other animal, socialize with them early. If you socialize with them early and you socialize with them often as the time goes on, they are going to love you. Anytime I come outside and they hear me talking, they run right towards me. It is one of the coolest things out there. So again, this is just a little bit of information for anyone who may want to own or raise chickens. I hope this was helpful. Please check out thegardeningdad.com. Check out my weekly emails, and then like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel, The Gardening Dad. Thank you, and have a great day.